Brent oil prices have sunk 14% since the start of the year as the world deals with coronavirus. But Caltex says that hasn't dampened interest in the company, which is being courted by Canadian convenience store company Couche-Tarde and Britain's EG Group. It reported a 38% fall in profit today to $344 million, blaming a soft market. Shareholders will receive a reduced dividend of 51 cents a share. I spoke to new interim CEO Matt Halliday. Matt Halliday, welcome to the business.
Good to join you.
Matt, lower refinery earnings, a tough competitive market and a softer, broader market have seen a 38% fall in net profit for Caltex for the year. This year also not off to a great start because you've got the coronavirus within that market. How do you find your way through that?
Yeah, so look, I think what we focus on in the business is what we can control. You're right, the external market conditions both through 2019 and in the early part of 2020 have been pretty challenging. And what we focus on is really what we can control, which is delivering strong underlying performance and delivering safely and reliably for our customers. So if we look at the virus, for instance, we're well set to be able to respond as we need to adjust our refining settings and to make sure we're making the right value decisions for our business.
We've seen the price of oil come back, I think about 10% so far this year. What is your plan? The coronavirus seems to have really spooked markets, particularly in the last 24, 48 hours. This isn't an issue going away.
No, it's not, and I think China is a very big part of the global oil market. So we have seen demand erosion in China. We've also seen significant run cuts on the supply side flow across China. So it's a bit early to say exactly how that situation balances out. We have also seen crude premiums, which have impacted our margins, start to come off. So that's a potential positive. What we do is really look at how we're running our refinery. Every day we make decisions on our refining settings, make versus buy, feedstock purchases to make sure that we're making the right value decisions for the business.
Within this environment, is Caltex still an attractive company to buy? You've got two overseas companies, one from Canada, one from Europe, interested in Caltex. Do those outside factors change any of that process?
Look, I think what you see in the result that we delivered today is the resilience and the quality of the business. So overall, year on year, profitability was down, as you mentioned, actually half on half. EBIT was up in the order of 40%, just under 40%. So that really reflects some stabilisation that we saw in the second half in terms of market conditions, but also the underlying focus on delivering year on year improvement right across the business. We have very strong assets, a strong retail network, we have a great infrastructure position and a very strong position with our customers. And I think the interest that you're seeing for Caltex reflects the strength of that underlying asset position.
You've opened the books for Couche-Tarde. Will you be doing the same for the EG Group?
Yeah, so look, the board decided that allowing Couche-Tarde in to the next phase of due diligence on a non-exclusive basis was the right decision to make to ensure that we can see whether a potential transaction makes sense for shareholders. In terms of EG, that proposal landed, I think, last Wednesday, so we're still working through the evaluation process on that one.
Either way, it must be good for shareholders to have this level of competition now.
Yeah, I think what shareholders can see is that the underlying asset quality within the business, so the infrastructure, the property, which we've got some plans for, they can see the value for those assets being realised in some of these bids that are coming forward. That's a positive. Equally, I think as we outlined at our Investor Day in December last year, we have plans to unlock the value of our property and drive earnings growth both in our fuels and infrastructure business and also in our convenience retail business. So I think it makes sense for us to explore all pathways to make sure shareholders are going to end up maximising value.
Matt, you've been announced as the interim CEO today. Why has the company gone down that path rather than announce you or someone as the CEO of Caltex?
Yeah, so I think the board has considered the current phase that we're in. So we have moved into a phase of due diligence with Couche-Tarde. We have received an EG proposal, and I think in recognition of the work that is going on within the business to manage through this next phase, that putting in place these interim arrangements makes sense. There's a lot of work to do on a potential transaction. There's also a lot of work to do making sure that given the various issues that we're dealing with in the business, like the coronavirus that you mentioned, we're running the business really well, we're not getting distracted, and we're making sure that we're focused, putting the potential transaction to one side, on maximising value for shareholders.
You've come into this role, I guess, as the interim CEO. What would you like to try to achieve while you're there?
Yeah, look, I think what we're looking to achieve is to run the business safely and reliably for our customers. We want to make sure that we're delivering strong underlying performance for our shareholders, and we want to make sure that we're unlocking value. So we've got a proposed property IPO that we'll be ready to deliver in the middle of this year. We're selling some additional properties beyond that, and we're also launching a potential hybrid instrument later this half. So we've got a range of things that we'll get on and be ready to deliver, and at the same time we want to make sure that we explore whether a change of control transaction is the right answer for our shareholders.
Were you given any words of advice from your predecessor, Julian?
Julian's words of advice were really, I've done a lot of work over 10 years, great assets, great company, great culture. I know that. That's one of the reasons I really wanted to come and join the team at Caltex. We've got to make sure we deliver the right answer ultimately for our shareholders. It's a great company and we want to make sure that we deliver a great outcome. That's his advice.
Matt Halliday, great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.